Liverpool are in need of a rebuild. Since Jurgen Klopp took over, Liverpool have been absolutely flying and they have won every trophy in the game. The Champions League, the FIFA Club World Cup and not to mention the Premier League, but last season they slipped away and missed out on Champions League football. Can we rebuild them over the next 5 seasons and get them back to the top of the English game? So we are right on the eve of the second season of this rebuild now. We have tried to keep it quite realistic in that we've gone and signed players who in positions we needed rather than just go and sign the likes of Kimmich and people like that who are available. We've gone to really build the team over 5 years, and that's what I've tried to focus on in this video. Instead of just signing the world's best players, we're looking to build the team properly. Now let me show you who left. Now, as in real life, Jordan Henderson left and he went to Roma for 13.25 million, while Fabinho also left and he left for 70 million to Paris Saint-Germain. And the other player to leave this window was Kostas Tsimikas. He left for 25 million, moving to AC Milan. Now, with those players leaving, it did mean we had to re-strengthen the squad, and we brought some really good players in and spent the money the board gave us in an attempt to try and overthrow Man City and get the Premier League title back to Anfield this season. We signed Ryan Gravenberch from Bayern Munich for £63 million. He is seen as a replacement for Fabinho or Thiago, who is likely in his last season with us. We've also signed Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle. What a signing he is. His passing and vision are some of the best that we could have signed as a replacement for Fabinho. He's going to sit alongside Thiago, and we've got 2 players who can absolutely spread the ball from the centre of the park this season. We also left some of the transfers in the hands of our director of football, and he signed Martins Baterina for £8 million from Dinamo Zagreb. He is going to be a youngster playing behind the likes of Diaz and a special player who I'm going to tell you about next. Yes, we went big and we signed Kicha Kvaratskhelia. I think I pronounced his name right. I really don't know, but if I haven't, you know, whatever. And we signed him for big money, £80 million. And the reason we did that is when we signed him, there were rumours that Diaz was off. Diaz didn't leave, he signed a new contract. So we've now got 3 really good players on the left side of our midfield, and it is looking very strong down there. We can also obviously play them on the right if we need to. And to round off our spending this summer, Alejandro Balde joined us from Barcelona. He is going to be again a left-sided player, but he's come in as a replacement for Tsimikas and going to be back up to Andy Robertson. So yes, as you can see, we're using the 4-2-3-1, which is the De Zerbi tactic, which we tested on Monday, and you saw the results of the first season in that. We're really confident that we can get this over the line. The board are really happy with the deals we've done. Let's have a look at where we are expected to finish. If we look at that season preview, second place again, the bookies have got us 9-2 on, just behind Manchester City. Slightly frustrating. And if we look at the competitions, we're expected to finish in the top 4, which is standard, but we should be challenging for the Premier League, quarterfinals of the Champions League. Super Cup's not important, but we are playing Atletico Madrid in the final, semi-finals of the FA Cup, and again, they're not bothered about the Carabao Cup. So it's promising to be a really good season. We've made some big signings. We are really trying to get Liverpool back to, first place in the Premier League, and we've got to somehow do that. In this rebuild already, we obviously have claimed the Europa League in the first season. If you haven't watched the rebuild, please watch after the video because we do run through that there. The data hub for this, as you can see, we'll be looking at the end of every season, see how it changes, but it is brilliant and I guarantee you goals with this tactic. Anyway, let's get on with the next season, see how we do. It's a 5-season rebuild as we do season 2 right now. Alright then, so our second season is completed and let's see how we got on. Let's have a look at the results. We plummeted down the table from where we were in our first season. Remember, we're just 2 points behind City the first season. In fact, we lost the title on the final game of the season, and this year we finished 5th.
Well, that was fucking dreadful.
Almost 20 points. We were 18 points behind Manchester City, who ended up winning the league. We were knocked out in the round of 16 of the Champions League, and we were knocked down to semi-finals of the FA Cup by Brighton. Interesting. If we just have a quick deep dive into the table as well, teams detailed, our possession had dropped off. We were 56% possession this season, sorry, compared to I think it was 60% in season 1, which isn't great. I don't know if I can see that. Let me have a look. If I go there. No, it'll only show me this season. Okay, so I can show you where we finished last year. So that's last season's table. We scored 100 goals, conceded 32. And this season we scored 72 and conceded 43. Not as good. Let's have a look at the squad and who did what. So our goals: Darwin Núñez 27, Mohamed Salah 22, and Kvaratskhelia got 12. That's it. There's no one else scoring goals. Assists, again, they're all down. Trent got 12, Salah 11, and Robertson got 10. That's really poor. And one thing I really have to point out is Luis Diaz made 25 appearances over the season. Every single one of them was from the bench. That is, it's disappointing, I must admit. We've really struggled this season. If we just have a look in the data hub, you know, you saw it before that season and how good it was. We just opened this up. Look at how much more constricted that is. We've not had a good season. So we've got a big rebuild to do now this summer. Let's see who we can bring in. Let's see who leaves. Probably see Thiago out the door now and a couple of other players. But let's see if we can replenish the ranks and find out who we can bring in. Have we had the transfer budgets? Not yet. There's no way we're only going to have £2 million. Obviously, this is literally just as the season to finish. It's not been announced yet. We've got to do some big spending this summer. Now then, as we get ready for our third season in this rebuild, let's show you who's come in and who's left the club ahead of this season. In terms of players that have come in, we've had a really good season. And our big summer signing is Moises Caicedo from Brighton. The fact he was still at Brighton, I think, is amazing. He cost us a massive £81 million, but he really is going to solidify that centre of the midfield. The other signing we brought in was Goncalo Ramos. He's come in as backup to Darwin Núñez from Benfica for £48.5 million. Another really good signing. But who really left? Well, Thiago left on a free transfer at the age of 33 and has gone to Italy to play for Inter Milan. And Joel Matip also left on a free transfer and he's now playing in Germany at Bayer Leverkusen. We also managed to sell Nathaniel Phillips for a massive £5.5 million, which is so overpriced for his ability to Sheffield United. So in terms of our off-season, our pre-season and the transfer window, we've actually done really good business. Now this is what we're expected to achieve this year. We are in the Champions League because they went to a 5th place and the new format has now kicked in, which means it is that ridiculously big league system. So we're expected to qualify for the Champions League again, reach the quarterfinals of the Champions League this season and the semi-final of the FA Cup. Fingers crossed we're going to have a much better season than last year because it was pretty average if we're being quite truthful, and something is going to have to give for us to have another really bad season like that. Darwin Núñez is key this season. His statistics over the last season weren't great, but the season before bagging 27 goals was sensational. So fingers crossed he can have another season like he did in the first one, and he should fire us to success alongside Mohamed Salah. So we're in season 3 of this 5-season rebuild. Let's see if we can get some silverware in the cabinet. Alright then, season 3 is in the bag. Let's see how we got on. Now we smashed the Premier League, 87 points, winning it by 8 points. Man City coming in second with a goal difference of 58, which is brilliant. Knocked out in the semi-final of the Champions League. I mean, we were so close. We were knocked out in the semi-finals by Tottenham Hotspur. They're going on to play Barcelona in the final, and I'll let you know who won that at the start of our next season. Knocked down the quarterfinals of the FA Cup as well, but we did win the Carabao Cup. So we've done a cup double. Not great, but there's 2 trophies in the bag. That's 3 overall on the rebuild because we won the Europa League, remember, in the first season we brought you on Monday's tactic video. So, frustrating, but let's have a look at the data hub. When we deep dive, it looks a lot more like it did in that first season. Very good attacking play, lots of goals per game, lots of shots per game, and defensively we were back to our best as well, which is really good to see. And if we just go back to the Premier League and we look at the entire season, if we go to the full breakdown, you can see we only conceded 30 goals. By far the best defence in the league and by far the best attack in the league, scoring 88 as well, which is brilliant. And again, if we just deep dive into the stats, possession not great, 56%, but we don't have those passers anymore like the Thiagos in the middle of the park. but our passing completion rate was 88%, and you know what? I'm quite happy with that. It's not bad, is it? Let's be honest. As you can see there, 10 of our goals coming from corners as well, which is impressive. The other thing is 4 players this season for us reached 20 or more goals. Kvaratskhelia was our top scorer with 22, Goncalo Ramos 21, and then Salah and Darwin Núñez getting 20. Alexis McAllister not far behind on 14 as well, which is really good. Assists wise, if we just deep dive there as well, Kvaratskhelia got 17, Salah 13, Trent Alexander-Arnold got 12, Robertson and Jota getting 11 each. So the goals are spread out, the assists are spread out. That's really good. That's the what we want to see. And you know what? That's a really good season. Now, in terms of who will be leaving this season, let me just go back to our squad here and let's have a look at your contracts. Let's see who's expiring this year. We don't have any contract up this year. That's really good. So we've got another 12 months on Virgil van Dijk, another 12 months on Andy Robertson, another 12 months on Mohamed Salah. We'll probably renegotiate those over the course of this summer because then we'll keep them for the full rebuild. And they are 3 of the most important players to this Liverpool team. But in terms of where we maybe look to improve, the team is actually in a really good position. You can see we've got 3 good goalkeepers, 3 decent right backs. The defence is pretty well covered as well because we've got 3 centre backs. Possibly maybe look to bring in, but you have got Stefan Bacic, who played 1 game for us this year in the Champions League. I think left back, I mean, we've got Balde, then you've got you. We are quite stocked. I don't think we need to sign anybody, I'll be honest, but you never know. We'll probably leave it to our director of football and we'll see who they bring in. So, let's jump ahead to the start of the 4th season. We'll show you who the director of football recommended we sign and actually went through with, and we'll bring you the winners of this year's Champions League. Can Tottenham Hotspur grab their first trophy? Is it their first trophy? Have a look as well. I mean, Tottenham. If I can spell, that would be a good start. There we go. Let's have a look at their history. Competitions. They were 3rd place in the Premier League in 2024. This is their chance to win their first trophy since, oh dear me, it's the Carabao Cup, wasn't it? There it is, 2008. What an opportunity they've got. It's been nearly 20 years. Tottenham are in the final of the Champions League. Can they get it over the line? Let's find out ahead of Season 4. Right, here we are, eve of Season 4, and I am looking to get more trophies, specifically the Champions League. We've won the league, we've won the Europa Cup, we've won the Carabao Cup, we've got 2 to go. I want them done in the next 2 seasons. I don't want to finish this rebuild without having captured absolutely everything. Okay, so that's our target for the next 2 years. Let's have a look at where we stand. So if we look at the Premier League, what where we're expected to finish, we're expected to finish 3rd. So we won the league last year, and the bookies now has 4-1 to do it again. There's a reason for that though. We've not added anybody. I haven't felt the need to. We've gone with the same team. There are a couple of small transfers. There are no big transfers this year. Spurs are currently trying to sign Darwin Núñez. That isn't going anywhere. We've signed Sakeo Fofana from Lens on a free transfer, and then we brought Jordan Teze in from PSG as backup to Trent Alexander-Arnold. So we've not gone big in the transfer market this year. Don't feel the need to do it. So we're going to see how we get on. In terms of competitions then, let's have a look. Qualify for the Champions League, semi-finals of the Champions League, semi-finals of the FA Cup, and competitive in the Carabao Cup. So yeah, I mean, I'm really confident we can repeat last year's success, that we can go one further. The Champions League, by the way, Spurs lost the final. Spurs are still waiting to win a trophy, and it's oh so sweet the longer that takes, I must admit. Maybe they are going to be a future rebuild, because really, if you can win a trophy with Spurs, you've done well, evidently. So in terms of our strongest team, let's have a quick look. If we go to pick the best 11, and let's go back to selection info. Is that one there? No, that's not that one, is it? Where's my selection info? There it is. So our best lineup lines up like this then. We've got Alisson in goal, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Konate, Van Dijk and Robertson, with Guimaraes and Caicedo ahead of them, Salah, McAllister and Kvaratskhelia and Núñez up front. The bench is stacked. I'm really confident, and the way we start the season, we also lost in the final of the Club World Cup, by the way, to Arsenal. That was a kick in the nuts, but still, we've got Chelsea in the Charity Shield, then Brighton, Bournemouth, Palace, Fulham, 4 really winnable games before we have City at home. This could be another big season for us. We've got to try and get one of these other 2 trophies done this year, because there's a lot of pressure on Season 5. So let's see how we get on in Season 4, and can we bring more silverware to Anfield? Now, I said before the season started that I hadn't signed any players to strengthen the first team, because I was so confident that the squad we had could build on what we'd achieved. And I was wrong. Catastrophically wrong, in fact. So let's have a look at what happened. We finished 4th in the Premier League. We were 9 points behind eventual winners Manchester City, 73 points. We were knocked out in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, so we still haven't captured the trophy we really want in this rebuild. We're knocked out by Barcelona. Quarterfinals of the FA Cup by Chelsea. Frustratingly, as Chelsea finished 7th. That's ridiculous. 4th round of the Carabao Cup by Tottenham, who seem to have a little bit of a hold over us when it comes to the Cup. Remember, they locked us out of the Champions League semi-finals last season. So that, again, is very frustrating. Well, we did win the Community Shield, so wonderful, great. Let's have a look at the data hub for the season. It was, again, I mean, defensively we were pretty good, but again, it was that creative side of the game where it seems we have one season where we create loads of chances, and then the next season we just don't create anything, and it's really frustrating to see, because defensively, again, we were we were all over the place, clear-cut chances. We were considerably less, 5.5 fewer than the average Premier League average per game. That's really good. 24 interceptions on average per game. Our tackle percentage ratio could have been better. So it really wasn't great at all. And if we look at the squad, let's have a look at where the goals were. So 31 goals for Darwin Núñez. Mohamed Salah is leaving to join PSG in our last season. I mean, that is disappointing. He is 33 years old, however, so it is time to replace him. You can see his pace has dropped down as well as his stamina, and in this system you need high stamina players, so that isn't a terrible thing to see him leaving. We do have replacements ready, and in terms of what we're going to be looking to do this summer is really strengthen. We're going all guns blazing for the last season to try and get that big trophy we want, and we've got £124 million to spend. And we've got £220,000 free in the wage budget before Salah leaves. So we're really quids in, because if we look at Salah's contract, it's ridiculous. £245,000 a week. The disappointing thing is, obviously these are simulations in that we don't play the whole seasons because we don't have time to play them, getting them out in a week, 5 seasons. And he's going on a free. That is what's really disappointing, is that during these simulations, what I do is I always make sure that my director of football is negotiating contracts for me in case of this situation. And they've let Salah leave on a free. So something's happened there, and I don't know what, but that is really frustrating. Anyway, 125 million to spend, 220 grand in the wage budget before we free up that 250,000 from Mo Salah. Let's see what we can do over the summer. Let's see who we bring in, and then what we'll do is we will try one season left to get that European trophy. Let's see if we can capture it. I really hope we can, as it would really round off what has been quite a successful rebuild in terms of trophies. So let's see who we bring in over the summer. Right then, we are on the eve of our 5th and final season of what has been a pretty decent rebuild with Liverpool. The Premier League is always a difficult nut to crack, and I do find that it's ups and downs, and Man City will come back one season, then be poor the next, a little bit like we've been, and then you got United and Arsenal, all those teams flying around. The one team I've been surprised about this is in Chelsea, so there'll be a future rebuild with Chelsea maybe next week. But let's finish this one first before we plan the next one. This is what we are expected to do this season. Now, I've told the players I want to win the league, I want to win the Champions League, and I want to win the FA Cup. That is what I've told the players. The board, slightly different. They want us to qualify for the Champions League, semi-finals of the qualify for the Champions League, semi-finals of the Champions League, win the FA Cup, and win the EFL Cup. Now, I think we can do better than that, I really do. But let's show you who we brought in. I told you at the start of the season that, if I just put our best 11 up, I told you at the start of, or the end of last season, that Mohamed Salah was leaving on a free transfer. And we went out and we spent the bulk of our transfer money on Karim Adeyemi, purely for that pace, that 20 pace, and the fact that he is rated as highly as Mohamed Salah. He has cost us £86 million. We also went out and signed Presnel Kimpembe from Aston Villa, which cost us nearly 95 million. Now that is 95 million including add-ons, and a large chunk of that is add-ons. I think it was 50 up front. So they made a small profit on him. I think it was 51 million up front. And then obviously add-ons for the rest of it. But I'm confident that he can be it. And the reason we signed Kimpembe is that Virgil van Dijk is at the ripe old age of 35 years old. No way is he going to be our starting centre-back. But, 35 years old. The fact that he's still a leader is what has made me give him a new contract for the 5th and final season. In terms of players that left, then, if we have a quick look, as you can see, Mohamed Salah and Stephen Akar left last season. There were a few other players that went out, but they were more youngsters. So we are set to go. 5th and final season. Can we get the big trophies that we're looking for? Let's find out how we're starting the season before we go any further. Brighton, Brentford, Wolves, Chelsea, Southampton. We've got 5 winnable games to start with. Let's see how we get on. Let's find out if we can get that big trophy. Alright then, our 5th and final season with Liverpool is done. Let's see how we got on. Now, we bounced back from a disappointing league season last year to win the league by 5 points from Newcastle. Newcastle pushed us all the way as well. That should be said, to be fair to them. 82 points we got with a goal difference of 52. Our top scorer in the league, new signing Karim Adeyemi with 15 goals. The goals were shared around quite nicely in the league. Champions League, we failed again. Quarterfinals knocked out by Real Madrid. We haven't reached the final of the Champions League in 5 seasons, and that is a disappointment, I must admit. And we finished runners-up in the FA Cup, Newcastle beating us in the final. If we look at the data hub for this season, I said last season, at the end of last season, how disappointing it was that our attacking player dropped off, and it's bounced back again, and that has happened repeatedly throughout this rebuild. We have one good season up here, next season we're down here, then we're back, and it's been a real yo-yo rebuild. Disappointing. We could have achieved so much more, but we got to take the rough with the smooth. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting when we look at the squad and how we've achieved. If we look at the transfers, Darwin Núñez, who is on his way to Atletico Madrid. We agreed with him at the start of the season that he could leave at the end of the season. 24 goals. Kvaratskhelia, I can never pronounce his name throughout this entire rebuild, so I'm going to learn how to do that after this, I think. 24 goals and 7 assists. Karim Adeyemi got 18, and then Gakpo and Alexis McAllister got 14. If we look at the assists, Trent leads the way as always. He is constantly up there with 16 goals. McAllister 13, Gakpo 11. Batarina, remember we signed him early on in this rebuild, he got 10 assists, and Moises Caicedo got 8. What I was more surprised about is when we look at Goncalo Ramos. Now, if we look at his season before, his first season he made 31 appearances and 9 goals. Last season he only made 2 league appearances, and this year he made 16, scoring 1 goal. All 16 of those appearances came off the bench. He started a grand total of 1 game all season for us, and that was in the Cup, only contributing 1 goal for the team all season. Really, really surprising how much he fell off, considering we paid £50 million for him. But it was a disappointment overall. Now, if we look at what we achieved over the course of this season, 8 trophies in 5 seasons, not that bad going. We won 2 Community Shields, a Super Cup, the Europa League, 2 Carabao Cups, and 2 Premier League titles. It's not a dreadful haul of trophies. Obviously some of those trophies are more important than others when it comes to what the fans think, but still 8 trophies in 5 seasons is a pretty good haul and one that the fans are happy with. However, we could have achieved so much more and it is a disappointing rebuild. But we leave Liverpool in a stronger position than when we took over them 5 seasons ago when they had missed out on Champions League football. They're due for another rebuild because some of the older players have left and some of their better players are on the wane. It's certainly going to be an exciting time moving forward, but we're going to move on to a new rebuild, and next week we're rebuilding Chelsea. Chelsea need a massive rebuild and it's certainly going to be exciting times. Make sure you tune in on Monday for our Rafa Benitez tactic, and that is the tactic we'll be using in next Friday's rebuild as well. I'll see you all soon, guys. You have a good one.